initially, we started recording the trailer for LDN with a low budget digital tape recorder,
A
Handycam camcorder that used out of date DV tapes. The whole process of like capturing footage, reviewing footage, making sure that we don't re-record over certain stuff, and just the whole transferring of the footage. The process was very long-winded. Sort of like kept drawing the team back, the crew back, and stuff like that. We just decided to opt for like a better option.
In terms of the sort of digital technology that we used, with the sort of when we opted for the more sort of advanced camera, we thought that the camera that we opt for would sort of help us be able to sort of adapt to the more modern features that we all had access to, and that sort of helped us to create more morale for the whole team, and it sort of allowed us to be able to digitally move our sort of the images and the moving images that we sort of had, and be able to sort of talk about which ones we should keep and which ones we should delete. Whereas with the sort of older camera that we had, we couldn't really be able to do that because we sort of had to capture it first, and then we needed to sort of locate where we should delete it, where we shouldn't, and it was just like a lot more harder for the whole group to sort of work with.
Also, in reference to the older camera, we realised like it had the battery life wasn't as long, so it was kind of inconvenient when we were filming like certain scenes where we would have to, if we were out, then the charger wasn't always like at our disposal.
And if the
battery died, then that was the end. That was the
session.
Also with the Handycam, like when we were actually recording onto the tape, because we couldn't like when we were recording onto it, sometimes like when we wanted to look at our footage after we finished, and then we will sort of record again, so without us knowing, sometimes it will record over our previous footage. That's what it used to do, which was really annoying as well. So like it got to a point where we sort of tried not to look what we reviewed
what we looked at,
looked at
on the camera itself
until like we got home sort of.
And it was also the case of like being able to store our footage as well, because initially with the old camera we just had the tapes. That was our footage. Like there was no that was it. That was the only place we could store it. But with the new camera, it allowed us to like store it in multiple places. For example, on the computer, on the camera hard drive itself, on USB, wherever you want, PCs and everything.
And also the convergence, like the camera that we're using now has its advantage because it has built-in microphone. So that we can pick up audio, whereas the other camera we had to use the camera itself. Then we had to have the additional microphone. That had to use the adapter jack, and we had to hold it and then record, and then record the audio as well as the visual manually. So that as well, and so most of the time the audio wasn't as clear as it could have been. And with this camera that we used later on, it made life much easier, and the audio was of better quality.
I believe with the HD cam, the sort of clarity that it gave us in terms of like picture quality alone, like being able to record in a HD resolution, play back in a HD resolution, like recording sort of a format that will be able to like be edited later on in a HD resolution, kind of gave us that sort of extra edge in terms of it picked up like the smallest detail in comparison to the old camera, such as like dirt and stuff, and like scratches, etc. The little details that the old camera wouldn't be able to pick up because of like picture noise and stuff like that. And I think that contributed to the whole idea of mise en scène, in the sense that we wanted our like trailer to look as gritty as possible, to like link in with the urban drum thing. And I think elements like little details such as that like contribute to the whole.
So for software, basically we use programs. The programs that we use varied. well, predominantly they were either Adobe CS, Creative Suite, or Microsoft Office. Within the Adobe, we use After Effects, Adobe After Effects CS4, CS5. That was for editing, and we use Adobe Premiere Pro, CS4, CS5. That was for editing and doing sequencing all our timeline.
Our research and planning, everybody here's used the Microsoft Office suite, where we did like a sort of group seminar about our genre research, and with that we used the help of PowerPoint to sort of be able to talk about different sections and sort of split up the genre and go into more depth about the whole genre. And we used Adobe Reader as well to sort of be able to display our work more sort of professionally, rather than just using the PowerPoint presentation and stuff. And we used like Word to sort of write up our questionnaire.
In reference to the questionnaires, Microsoft Excel was also used to help generate the graphs. So like it was easier to make the graphs itself on Excel and then just probably like copy and paste it onto Word.
We also used an array of smaller software and freeware to contribute to the entire workflow of our project and the construction of our trailer. For example, we use HD Split and WinRAR to archive our files, compress our files, and transfer our files from computer to computer, etc. while we're editing and stuff like that. Another thing that we as a group found interesting and very helpful was the sense of like compatibility between say suites and certain software. For example, with Adobe After Effects, when you're adding like special effects in post-production, you can transfer the entire composition, which is like the sequence you created in After Effects. You can transfer that onto Photoshop and continue editing like seamlessly, like simultaneously. And that's the same thing with Photoshop. For example, like there's certain points in our trailer, for example, the character establishment, where we use freeze frames, and those freeze frames that you see were initially created in Photoshop and then imported back into After Effects